today we conclude, we conclude the series on thirst. We've been doing all month. We did thirst for meaning, thirst for community, thirst for wholeness. Today is about thirst for justice. And you have to know that when you thirst for justice, that you're going to have to walk in other people's shoes. And when you walk in other people's shoes, you find that you are changed. You can't help but be changed. And so this is a church that challenges us to walk in other people's shoes. And so we were challenged this month by our Community Resource Bank leaders to take the SNAP challenge, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, for those of us who are not on it already. And so many of us did. I did. Barbara did. Over 100 members of our church did. It was written up in the Tulsa World as well yesterday. A great interview with Barbara about that. So Barbara and I thought that to begin to talk about this experience of attempting to walk in this particular pair of shoes, but this particular pair of shoes being those living in Oklahoma or in America who are living with food insecurity or with, in danger of living in hunger. So we just wanted to start by having a little conversation to share with you some of the dialogue that we've had this week about this.
So we both took the challenge, right? I think all the ministers did. I think more than 100 people in the congregation took the challenge. But I figure that you had to take the challenge since you're the senior minister and all.
It's true.
But I want you to tell people, if you wanted to.
So this was interesting because I like things like this. I let people know I love to travel. I love to go out and see have experiences. And that's how I love to learn. I bring it back. I'm able to find sermon illustrations and things. As a matter of fact, I remember a few years ago, I went to the Nightmare at Guts Church just to have the experience. Yeah, just to preach, so I could preach how awful it was back here. It was scary and not real fun and real homophobic and stuff. So I didn't like it, but I wanted to have the experience. So this was similar to me. I was excited to try it. How about you?
Yeah, so you asked me about mine. So it's kind of like him at the beginning, like a year ago, and I heard about it, and I knew other people were doing it, and other cities' politicians had done it, and I thought, oh, this will be great, like consciousness-raising thing to do with the church. But then, as I got closer to September 14th, I started thinking about all the reasons I didn't want to do it, like how much work it would be, and all the things that I love to eat that I wouldn't be able to eat, like cheese and hummus and some kinds of meat, and I like chewing gum and mints, and anyway, there's this long list of things, so I ended up doing it because I had to do it, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And even though you say you liked doing it, I'm guessing it wasn't, I know actually at this point that it wasn't always hard for you, easy. So what was the hardest part? So
one thing to know about me is I love to cook. I do probably the majority of the cooking. I'm looking at my wife. I do the majority of the cooking in our house, and I love cooking. I love putting things together. I don't cook with recipes. I just pull stuff down, and I love mixing flavors. And so for me, going shopping with $29 as my budget, I had to pass by all this great food, all this lamb and meat and beef and all these things that I knew would taste great, and I'd love to cook them, and I had to just find stuff that would fill me up because I knew I don't like being hungry either, and so I had to find stuff that would fill me up for the week, and I did. I found a lot of stuff that would fill me up, but I was eating the same thing every day. Sometimes I'd have oatmeal for breakfast and eggs for dinner, or I'd have eggs for breakfast and I'd have oatmeal for dinner, but I did whatever I could to stay full. But it wasn't as nutritious as I love to eat nutritious food, vegetables and all kinds of great nuts and fruits and stuff, but I couldn't afford too many of those, so it was tough for me. I didn't eat as healthy, and it was just boring and monotonous diet for me.
So I knew we were different before we did this, but I just didn't know how different we were. Because I don't like to cook. Could be because all those years of cooking for my kids when I had to cook, but now I'm really happy if I don't have to cook, and I like to just eat things that are really, really easy to, I don't really have to prepare food. But you can't eat raw rice and beans. So I had to cook, and I had to plan ahead, and I discovered that I actually enjoyed taking care. It ended up being something about taking care of myself, actually a little better, because I had to think about it. Make lunch and dinner for myself to bring to work, and I had a lot of vegetables. I ate a lot less fruit. But I didn't eat any meat, and I think because of that planning ahead, I actually ate a little bit more healthy, which was interesting. Different than what I expected.
So in order to try to demonstrate a little bit about our experience for you, we're going to need 10 volunteers 10 adult volunteers from the congregation. If you would come forward, 10 people, and just stand right here for us for a minute. You're not going to have to talk. We're not going to interview you. We just need your bodies.
There we go, yeah.
In this exercise we're going to do, I represent somebody who has enough. I have, middle class or upper middle class or more wealthy, somebody who has enough food to live on, which is actually my current situation in my life. And it's really been my situation all my life.
And I represent somebody who doesn't have enough food, somebody who's living in poverty or who's on SNAP benefits, which is not my position in life, never has been. I've always had more than enough. And I've been talking to people in the church and in the community, so I'm going to do my best to represent this person's experience as I can with all of you this morning.
So what we're going to do, it's something called the stereotype wall, and we're going to name some of the stereotypes that we have about poor people or rich people, let's say, and I want you to think about what stereotypes you have. So when you think of rich people or when you think of poor people, what are some of the things that come to mind? And we're going to name some of them. And I will say right up front, it's painful to admit it, it's painful to name them, but it's important to name them as well.
As we name them, this is where you guys come in, so you're going to have to tune into us a little bit. Marlin's going to go first, and when he says a stereotype, you're going to represent the first one, and you're going to come up and stand in front of me and face him, yep. And then when I name one, you're going to come next just to get it going, and you'll stand in front of him. And then you'll just keep coming.
You each represent one of the stereotypes we have, prejudices we have. So you're poor, and I'm going to guess that you're probably lazy.
Lazy? Can I get a chair?
No, I'm lazy. You come right here. And just stand right in front of me, facing Marlin. There you go. Well, you're rich, so I'm going to say that you're spoiled.
Well, you're playing the system.
Well, you think you're better than I am.
Well, you're uneducated.
Well, you're condescending, and you know what? You're clueless, too.
Well, you don't deserve anything, and it's your own fault that you're poor.
Well, you didn't do anything to have what you have, so who cares that you're rich?
That's fine, because you're ignorant.
Oh, really? I think you're ignorant.
So, as you can tell, it's a little hard to see Barbara, through all this wall of prejudices that we see. I can only see some of the people who I imagine her to be, or that I've been taught that she is, but I have a hard time really seeing who she really is.
Right, and it's like I'm supposed to know who you are, or I think I know who you are, but there's like no way for me even to get to know actually anything about you, right?
Mm-hmm. So we create these walls in our minds that are as impenetrable or more impenetrable sometimes than brick walls, and they keep us from really seeing each other.
I have an idea. You ready?
Okay.
So these people, these stereotypes are going to stay in the same place. The wall's not going to move, but Marlin, are you willing? Let's each just take a step forward towards the people here this morning and see what happens. Just one step forward, okay?
All right. There you are.
There you are.
Now, of course, it's not that easy to just let your stereotypes, biases, and prejudices. They're pretty solid, but we can move a little bit. We can suspend some of them. We can start to look at somebody eye to eye and try to say, maybe this person is not all those things that I've been taught. And when you think about how the consequences of this, we've been talking a lot this fall about Michael Brown, who was shot in Ferguson, Missouri, African-American male, and a couple of others who were shot this summer. When you think about how this was at play, did that police officer see Michael Brown, a young man who was ready to go to college and was trying to pull his life together? No, he probably saw all kinds of different stereotypes when he saw this big African-American male coming towards him, walking down the middle of the street. And did Michael Brown see a person who happens to be trying to serve his community as a police officer, or did he see all the things he thinks of when he thinks of police officer? So the point is that this is very real, and it affects our lives, but it also is very deadly at times too. And so we need to get rid of it, and we need to do away with it. And so with that, I'd like to thank you all for volunteering and letting me. Thank you.
Thanks. So yeah, I can see you now, But you are so different than me. You have so much. You can't possibly imagine what it's like to be me. You've probably never done a real hard day's work or gotten your hands dirty doing anything. You've never had to put your kids to bed hungry. I know that. I know you've never had to send your kids to school hungry. Can you even begin to imagine how that makes me, a mother, feel?
First of all, I have worked some hard days in my life, and I have gotten my hands dirty, but you're right. I have never had to put my children to bed hungry or send them to school hungry. And when I try to imagine what that must feel like, because I love my children as much as I know you love your children, and when I try to imagine what that must feel like, that hurts. And it's painful. And I hope you know I really don't want it to be like this either.
I want to believe you. But I also think that you're assuming I'm lazy and that I like living this way, like I like mooching off the government or something like that, and I don't. You're wrong. I wish I had a job that paid me enough, right? So I could buy good food for my kids, and I could put nice clothes on their backs, and I could keep a roof over our head, and I wouldn't have to worry about the electricity or the phone going out. The jobs I have don't pay benefits. I can't take my kids to the doctor. Medicine is super expensive. I can hardly ever get it. There aren't good supermarkets in the neighborhoods where I live, so yes, I stop at the corner store and I buy junk food just so my kids won't be hungry. I don't have time to prepare food, think about when we're going to eat, make stuff, carry it with me, and then when my car breaks down, I lose my job. Right? I start all over again. I take money from family and friends. It's stressful and it hurts. And I'm not trying to complain, but I'm telling you, for somebody like you to think that I'm lazy, like from my angle, you have such an easy life, you could never understand me, and you probably don't care. Why would you even care?
Well, I have to say it's hard to hear you say a lot of those things and to hear about how hard that is. And I have to say, I do not think, when I think of people living in poverty, I don't think of the hard work it must take to find jobs, keep jobs, get everybody fed, get everybody clothed, get everybody to school, get yourself to work, deal with anything. If there's doctors, health issues, all of that. The hard work, I don't think of hard work when I think of poverty. Mm-hmm. And so that's honest. But I also want to be honest and say, I don't want to feel bad because my life's comfortable. I don't want to, I wish everyone lived in comfort, and I don't think that I should be made to feel bad or made to feel guilty because I've gotten certain breaks in life, because I've worked hard and to get what I have, or worked hard to stay where I am. I know that because I'm male and I'm white and I was born in a middle-class family in the United States, that I was been given a lot of advantages that many other people don't have and have to work twice as hard to get. And at the same time, that doesn't mean that I'm heartless, and it doesn't mean that I'm cold, and it doesn't mean that I don't want things to be better. And I hope you can understand that, and I hope that you know that that I really do try to support organizations in my life and take some time to volunteer and help in different ways, that I really do try to make a difference. And I will say, though, that sometimes I feel like, here I am working, it's not really my problem, and yet I try to make a difference, and then I still get looked at as being a pompous jerk.
I cannot blame you for having what you have. I can even see how it's hard for you to think about me because it makes it harder for you to enjoy your comfortable life, and you should enjoy it because I would if I had it. But if we're telling the truth, I got to tell you, it hurts to hear you say it's not your problem. If it's not your problem, whose problem is it? It's just my problem. I can even see how if you spend too much time thinking about children going to bed hungry and fathers who want the same things you want, who are just struggling to survive, it would get depressing. Yeah, it's depressing for you. It's depressing for all of us. So I can see that. And even, I guess, like when you think I'm lazy or I'm just mooching off the system and you think it's my fault, I guess that could help you sleep better at night.
I think you're right, that some of the ways I tell myself that you're lazy or you deserve it and all those kinds of things helps create some buffer for me so that I don't have to think about it or I don't have to deal with it, and I can go about living my life without having to face some of the realities of how different our worlds are. And I will say that I'm just trying to live with some balance in my life. I want to enjoy the things that I have and I'm blessed to have, and I also want to try to make a difference in the world. And sometimes, and probably more often than not, I err on the side of being too apathetic and too complacent. But one of the reasons is that my life is really full too. I've got a lot going on. I have, I'm busy, and just because somebody has money doesn't mean they don't have difficult families. And it doesn't mean that they don't have financial fears, and it doesn't mean that we don't have health issues of our own that affect our family. Having money doesn't keep a family from having to deal with addiction and abuse and illness and death and depression and all kinds of other real-life struggles. So I realize that I do have money, and it does help in a lot of ways, and it makes things easier, but it's not like I don't have pain and fear and all kinds of stresses in my own life, on sense of uncertainty at times. And I want to lift other people up, and I want to help people with their pain, but I also need help lifting my own life up a lot of times, and I need help healing my own pain in many ways. So I hope you can see that too, and you don't just see me as someone who's living a carefree, pain-free, and aloof life, because that's not real.
Well, you know, even though I don't have money in my life right now, I've had money, and I have plenty of family and friends who have money, and I know they're struggling, so that I can tell that you're telling the truth. I also can't help but wonder that if you simplified your life a little bit, if you wouldn't have a little bit less stress. But I know the answers are tough to find for both of us. I don't want you to have less. I just know that I need more. Mm-hmm. And if you say you're barely making it sometimes, just imagine how I feel.
Well, what I do appreciate is that I do feel more because I'm talking to you and I'm seeing a real person and I'm imagining what it's like as a parent to parent and person to person. And I have to tell you that I do feel also seen and understood better by you. And it's not a quick fix or anything, but I do feel it gives me some hope and a start that we can see each other. And I thank you for that.
It's good.
All right.
Hey.
Jesus was asked in the Gospels, what does the kingdom of heaven look like? And when he was asked this, he gave the answer once in Luke and once in Matthew. I'm going to read from Luke chapter 14, verses 16 through 23 if you have a Bible. But the story of, or the parable of the great banquet. A certain man was preparing a great banquet, and he invited many guests. And at the time of the banquet, he sent out his servant to tell those who had been invited, "Come, for everything is now ready. Go tell them." And they did, but the servants did, but they found that everyone had an excuse for why they couldn't come. The servant came back and reported this to the master, and then the master became angry, and he ordered the servant, "Go quickly into the streets and to the alleys in the town and bring in the poor and the crippled and the blind and the lame." "Sir," the servant said, "what you ordered has been done, but there is still room." And then the master told his servant, "Go out into the roads and the country lanes and compel all to come in, so that my house will be full." And when he says, "Go out and compel all to come in," this means anybody could be sitting next to anybody else at this banquet. Male next to female, married next to unmarried, free next to slave, Jew next to Gentile, all eating together. Now, without going into a long explanation of cross-cultural anthropology in the ancient Near East, I can say that this was an incredibly subversive and dangerous and radical idea that Jesus was putting forth. To say that the kingdom of heaven, the goal of religion, should look like this, that the highest and holiest ideal of community would have such a diverse mix of humanity. Anthropologists also, they tell us that if you want to see a map of a society and its economic hierarchies and its social prejudices and its political distinctions, that what you need to do is look at who eats with who. What Jesus is proposing is that we create communities that break down the barriers of social discrimination and hierarchies, and that he offers instead an egalitarian vision of human community that threatens the social order in favor of justice, in favor of humanity, in favor of being in relationship as brothers and sisters together. And what I love about what we're doing here at All Souls is that we're working to create that kind of a community. Are we doing it because it's popular? Are we doing it because it's trendy? Are we doing it because it's politically correct? No. We're doing it because we're trying to be in here the kind of community that we hope will someday be out there outside of these walls. And it is a radical, egalitarian vision, one that is very much in line with the teachings and the visions of Jesus of Nazareth. And that has never been trendy, it's never been popular, and it's never been politically correct. It's about walking our talk. It's about being willing to walk in other people's shoes. And as I said earlier, when we walk in other people's shoes, we better be ready to be changed. It's about more than just being a church that pronounces love your neighbor. It's about really trying to practice loving our neighbors. Amen?
What do you say? Anyone could be sitting next to anyone else at the table? Did you hear that? Yes. It's beautiful, right? Are we there yet? No. Are we there yet? No. So remember the man Marlin was representing earlier, how he wanted to make a difference in the world, but he wasn't sure if it was his problem? He wasn't sure if he could make a difference? I believe that no matter who we are, no matter how much money we make or we don't make, we actually often feel that way, like what am I supposed to do, right? So one thing we can do, and we are doing, but we can do more of, is we can tell each other our stories, and we can take time to listen to each other and hear those stories, because every single time we do that, we're taking a step away from that wall. Every single time we tell a story and we listen to somebody else's story that's different than ours, we break down those barriers and we build bridges, okay? And the other thing is, the church might push us. I realize after 2 weeks on the Snap Challenge, the church might push us a little bit harder than we want to be pushed sometimes. But you know, peer pressure isn't always a bad thing. I told you I wouldn't have done it, right? Without you guys basically making me do it. But now I'm glad I did it because I was changed by doing it. So putting the pressure on is okay. It's okay. We have to remember that the world has been changed time and time again, over and over again in Jesus' time and in our time by people who don't turn away, by people who dare to look and listen and feel and care and think and then act. It takes all of that to be an activist in the world today. It's because we let our hearts break open. We know how people are suffering. We feel it. And then you want to do something. And the amazing thing, like the miracle thing is, and Jesus must have felt this in his times, is that when you do that, you get back more than what you give. And then you're renewed, right? You feel the Spirit of God moving in you and through you, and it just builds. That's how we build the kingdom of God together. There is a myth. Also, we need, they're Ghostbusters. We need to be Mythbusters. Because there is a myth in America that everyone can pull themselves up by their bootstraps and live the American dream if they just, gosh darn it, work hard enough. But it's a lie. It's not the good kind of myth. It's the bad kind of myth. It's a lie. Sister Simone Campbell calls it the unpatriotic lie of individualism. The unpatriotic lie of individualism, and it's not what this country was founded on. This country was founded on the idea that we are a collection of people connected, a community of people, people who share in communion together, right? The first 3 words of our Constitution, what are they? You can do it louder than that. That's almost loud enough. Yes, thank you. We, the people, are the ones who make this democracy and this nation work, and we have to refuse the lie and debunk the myth. Yes? You can do that with me? You going to walk with me? We, the people of all souls, this is what makes us special, right? We are the people of all souls, and we know we need each other. We know we aren't making it alone. We never made it alone. We're not going to make it alone, right? And that's who activists are, because we don't just worship in this building. We deploy activists in the community. I think besides the fantastic music, which is like beyond belief, music beyond belief for sure, I think we were voted #1 also because of what we do in the community, because we are trying to walk the talk, right? More and more and more and more. So if you know your fate, because I think you do know that your fate is connected to everyone else's fate, and if you feel the impact of injustice when you see it, and if you're inspired, your faith is renewed when you work shoulder to shoulder with other people who share your values, if your faith in God or humanity or in God and humanity is strengthened when you walk the talk, we are going to be some amazing activists together.
Yes.
We already are. We already are, but I'm going to tell you about a few more things we can do. There are 300 kids at McLean Academy, 7th graders, who need someone like you on a regular basis to come be with them. Just an hour a week, and you will change somebody's life, and you will be changed. If you took the challenge, you can donate the difference, right? You can give the money you saved on food and give it to the Community Resource Bank. You might not know that we're stocking a food pantry in every school where we're serving meals and where we're serving as reading buddies. And we're actually serving a meal once a month in those schools, and we're distributing groceries. So I invite you to come with us and serve the food and make friends with the families. The relationships that we're building are amazing relationships. And I think everybody in this room knows that change only happens when we have real relationships. Again, when we're listening, sitting down, breaking bread together, telling each other our stories. That's happening at our partner schools. That is happening. So help us. Help us, help us, help us. We are the people we've been waiting for. That's the truth of family, of church. It's the truth of our nation. And I know I can't make much of a difference, but I totally have faith that we can. Yeah, we can. We, the people of this church, have a vision. It's a vision of walking step by step by step toward justice.
Yes. When we walk in each other's shoes, we walk toward truth.
When we walk in each other's shoes, we walk toward doubt and new possibilities.
When we walk in each other's shoes, we need a friend.
When we walk in each other's shoes, it's good to stand side by side.
All right. When we walk in each other's shoes, we walk towards a vision of inclusion.
When we walk in each other's shoes, we allow our hearts to break open.
When we walk in each other's shoes, we begin to belong to each other.
When we walk in each other's shoes, we're going to have a lot of people walking with us.
Are you ready to walk away from the lie, the unpatriotic lie of individualism?
Good. Are you ready to walk with us?
All right, let's walk and let's keep talking and let's make it happen. All right? We love you.